Hey, it's Tim with the University of Vinyl. I am back today to talk about more crown jewels. These are the best sounding records of my collection. I've got an ongoing series. I had put a goal back in January to cover 50 albums over the course of this year. This is video number 17, and I did threaten to kind of pick up the pace about a month ago. I was thinking about this. So instead of focusing on one album, one video, I'm actually going to be covering 8 albums in today's video. So bonus, bonus, bonus. And guess what? They are all albums from one of my favorite bands, XTC. And we're going to go through 8 albums as mentioned. These all definitely make the cut as far as being some of the best sounding records that I currently have in my collection. And it has taken me years to put together these 8 albums that I feel are the definitive pressings available on the market. It takes time. You have to keep your eyes open at record shops. You have to keep your eyes open at record shows. You have to hem and haw and decide, am I willing to pay that price for that original UK pressing of Nonsuch? Nonsuch? We'll talk about that album a little bit further on in this video. If you like this content, if you like this series, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And don't forget to like and even share the video if you are a huge XTC fan and you're just kind of stumbling across this. Welcome. Thanks for watching. I want to start off with the 1979 Drums and Wires record. Famously Making Plans for Nigel. When you put this record on, and remember, I'm just gauging things according to my own ears, my own taste. My current setup that I'm listening to these records on, this is just very well balanced. And there is this cool kind of two-toned Virgin label that came out with this record, green and red. This is really well done, well balanced, great soundstage. I'm going to try not to repeat all of the listening cues and cliches, but invariably I probably will repeat some things. But there is a very nice, well done reissue that was overseen by Andy Partridge from the company called Ape out of the UK. If you can't find an original UK, I would go with the Ape repress, which is pretty readily available for around $40. I think you can get those new. But I had that, and I had a US pressing, and I found this about a year ago, and this tops for me. So there it is. It's a very, very kind of flimsy, typical UK style, very thin cover, and the copy that I have did not have the original inner sleeve, so the quest continues. I would love to find an original inner sleeve, but hey, the music is what's important, and I think the original UK, as it came out, the tapes were fresh, and this is a near mint copy, so really pleased to find that. And I picked this up for $30, which I think is a huge score, down in Longmont, Colorado. This record was mastered by a mastering engineer known as John Dent, and he was working at a mastering house called Sound Design in the UK. John Dent's name will pop up later on in the video. In 1980, XTC released a really fantastic record. I did a ranking of the XTC albums several years ago now. I forgot to look back, but I think I had Black Sea as either number 1, 2, or 3 in my ranking at that point in time. This is on an original UK pressing. You will see that the original UK pressings, there was no title Black Sea or XTC on the cover, just this. And what's missing here is the original green bag that the record came in. This is a US pressing that I have, which is no slouch. No slouch at all. But this was mastered and cut at the Townhouse. And that is the studio of choice of Hugh Padgham and Steve Lillywhite. And there's the really nice, clean record. You will see Townhouse stamped in the dead wax. Maybe it's etched. Let's double check that. Yeah, Townhouse is actually etched in the dead wax, but there is that Virgin label, Black Sea, XTC. This thing just thunders out of the speakers. An amazing pressing, a powerful set of songs right out of the gate with Respectable Street. It is just an amazing listen. It's a thrill ride. So try and find an original UK pressing. If you can't find that, I think the Europe pressing may have Townhouse mastering as well. So highly recommended Black Sea. Look for the UK. In 1982, XTC put out a double album called English Settlement. It would be 4 more years until you were able to find the complete double album released in that format with the same running order in the United States. It's when Geffen picked up rights to the XTC catalog. So if you find an 86 Geffen copy of that record, it sounds really good. Whatever you do, do not buy the truncated single LP that came out in the US. And if you are serious about this band and you love this band as much as I do, you want to have an original UK pressing. And that had the kind of pebbled, textured sleeve. And you can see the kind of very, very subtle etching there, or embossing, XTC, English Settlement. There is the back. There is the song track list. Again, double album, some amazing songs. This is an earth-shattering pressing, huge soundstage, incredible separation, incredible detail. Again, it's a thrill ride. And I actually have 2 different copies of this record, 2 different UK originals. And I'll show you, I've showed this before. This is actually quite cool. So I have the top pressing is called the wide spine. And then on the bottom, I have the narrow spine. So kind of just a bigger jacket, basically, and the lettering is quite larger as well. That's called the wide spine. Same mastering, same records inside, but kind of cool to have both of these. 1983, Mummer was released. And they lost Terry Chambers, the original drummer with XTC, kind of left about a third of the way through the recording. He was replaced by Pete Phipps, another UK local drummer. Definitely kind of changed the sound, but things were moving in a more layered. XTC were definitely always kind of pushing the boundaries on their sound and how they wanted the songs to be expressed. A lot of that was down to, of course, Andy Partridge, the self-proclaimed Mussolini of the group. But an important player here was Dave Gregory. Everything from piano, string arrangements, incredible guitar. Mellotron, keyboards, an incredible musician. So he had a big hand in this. But Terry Chambers kind of saw the writing on the wall, and the band was moving toward different soundscapes. They were going to be bringing in all different kinds of elements, and that would especially show up on the next album, The Big Express. But but this was still kind of known as kind of a pastoral album. Not sure about that, but it's a gorgeous album. The best song on this record, I think, is This World Over. Give it a listen. It's an intense song. If you can find the UK 12-inch, amazing, and that can be found for between $5 and $10. This was also mastered by John Dent at Sound Design, just like Drums and Wires was, and they went back there again. So really, really great pressing. Highly recommended. All right, I'm confused. This World Over is the best song, I think, on the Big Express. And this is a really cool, this is the round die cut cover. It's quite delicate, so I've got it in the sleeve. This is the record where they introduced Mellotron, Lindrum, the electronic, drum pads that were used on many of these songs. Most famously, Train Running Low on Soul Coal. Listen to that song and you will hear a very, very layered, a very big production, very 1984. This is the record that, in listening to this production, it is borderline over the top. There are just tons of layers here. There are backward loops. There was a lot of overdubs, and it caused a little bit of consternation amongst Colin Moulding, of course, and Dave Gregory. Terry Chambers wasn't there, but I think Andy was playing the part of a bit of a mad scientist. A lot of new toys at hand to kind of structure these sounds. Anyway, the Big Express sounds fantastic. A very big sounding, a very big production record. I have a gold stamp promo of the next record, a U.S. pressing. I think it's an Allied press. I have a later pressing that has Dear God, but the best pressing that I have heard is the original UK version. Let's just take a quick look at the package here. This came with a really nice heavy cardstock inner with all of the lyrics, all of the credits. Of course, this was the record produced by Todd Rundgren. They used Prairie Prince from the Tubes on drums. Really nice photography on this thing. I wish we had a little more kind of bonus extras. There is a fine reissue from Ape as well, Ape House. That's definitely no slouch. But in listening to that, 2 or 3 different U.S. pressings that I have, this one sounds the best to me. And I believe this was a digital recording. By the way, the whole thing about this reverse polarity, supposedly there was some kind of a screw up when this thing was mixed and mastered. I think that's a lot of just kind of back and forth between Todd Rundgren and Andy Partridge. Everybody knows the story there. I'm not hearing anything wrong here with polarity or reverse polarity. This thing sounds absolutely amazing. Just dead silent vinyl and a great sounding record. Out of all of these XTC albums today, the next one is, I was thrilled to find this just out of the blue 2 years ago now in Boulder, Colorado at a great shop called Paradise Found. And I found the original 1992 UK pressing. This was never released in the US on vinyl back when it came out in 92. Look at the gold leaf on this cover. Look at all of these kind of vignettes that are all based on the song cycle that is part of Nonsuch. The packaging is otherworldly. The photography is just amazing. These are heavy cardstock sleeves as well. We've got all of the lyrics for both records. It's a double record as well. This record is worth the price of admission for Books Are Burning, the final track on the record. That is available on YouTube. It's a very, very rare live performance by the band. What you won't hear is the amazing trade-off. There are 4 guitar solos ending Books Are Burning. Hey, I'm back. The battery died in my camera. I had to do a quick swap. Back to Books Are Burning. There are 4 guitar solos that kind of finish in a huge flourish at the end of the song. And Andy takes guitar solo 1 and 3, and then alternating is Dave Gregory with guitar solo 2 and 4. He's also, I believe, on Hammond organ on the song, and you will see him in the actual live performance. That was a late talk show BBC performance in '92, one of the few rare live in studio appearances that they made towards the end of their career. It's a breathtaking listen. You've got to see that if you haven't heard it. Of course, the Ballad of Peter Pumpkinhead. Let me just say that this pressing, this double album, is one of the best sounding records in my collection. This UK vinyl in 1992 was an incredibly, I don't even know if this is 100 grams, really, really interesting, but dead silent, gorgeous labels, gorgeous packaging. I mean, and also a big plus here, Dave Maddox covered drums. Dave Maddox from Fairport Convention fame, tons of studio session work as well throughout the 70s and 80s. But the fact that they had Dave Maddox on drums is great. And this is a bit of a sleeper in the catalog. I don't know how many people actually think about this album, but it deserves to be rediscovered, explored, listened to. There's just an incredible array of songs here. Great songwriting between Colin Moulding and Andy. And Dave Gregory is just in fine form. He is like the secret sauce weapon of XTC, in my opinion. And I do have the Ape issue. Nothing wrong. The Ape House issue. Nothing wrong with it. Very well done. If you didn't have this to compare it to, you wouldn't have any idea that you're missing anything. But this just has richer mids, really, really nice bottom end, and just a bit more push involved. Last and certainly not least, the 1998 long-delayed and awaited album, Apple Venus Volume 1. This is the original UK pressing. This was mastered at Metropolis, which is a UK mastering house that was formed by Ian Cooper, who actually started Townhouse previously in the UK. And the person who cut this lacquer is Tim Young, otherwise known as Tim Tom. He's done so many great titles. And this is just, first of all, the music on here, they've just kind of taken it to 11 as far as sophistication and arrangements and strings. There is a very, very long story behind this record. It took very long for this to come out. XTC were running on fumes financially, and there were interpersonal problems between the three. Dave Gregory, unfortunately, left during the recording of this record. He wouldn't appear on the follow-up, the final XTC record, Wasp Star. But anyway, this is just a complete, gorgeous piece of work, a single record. This is kind of a white whale to find this thing. I don't think very many copies were pressed at that point in time. It had been so long. They were out of the spotlight, and I just don't know how many, they were on a different contract with Cooking Vinyl. But it's just a cornerstone of my collection at this point in time. So, Apple Venus Volume 1, try and get a UK pressing. If you can't, by all means, get the Ape House reissue. It sounds great. The Crown Jewels, I think I'm on episode 17 or 18. I think this is episode 17. I'll put this in the opening. But we covered 8 albums by the fantastic band XTC. Andy Partridge, Terry Chambers, original drummer, Colin Moulding on bass, Dave Gregory, multi-instrumentalist, primarily, of course, guitar, several different kinds of guitars that he played, and he was an amazing player. Thanks, everybody. I will be back soon with something new and different, but I'm trying to catch up on the Crown Jewels, and hope you enjoy this.